a couple weeks ago, you tweeted something out
good.
that, yeah, I'm going to bring it up,
Okay.
that got a crazy amount of attention, which... Did it?
Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, I believe you're referring to.
Yes.
I tweeted out, sorry, not beautiful. Yeah, people weren't very happy with that.
And then everyone got upset.
Yes, they did. And then I left Twitter again, more or less, right after that. And everyone assumed that that was why. And it wasn't.
No.
It was, I suppose in some sense it was, because what happened was an indication of the problem with Twitter. But I had been not reading Twitter comments for about 3 weeks, although I had been tweeting through an intermediary, one of my staff members. So I'd email him a tweet, but not reading comments, because I found that quite
irksome.
Yeah,
like you're associating with the
devil.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, it was like sort of like standing in a public park where anybody, no matter who they were, could come up and yell at you to any size audience about anything they wanted, day or night. And so I've been thinking that through. I'm going to write an article about what's wrong with Twitter and social media in general. But no, I looked at the Sports Illustrated cover, and they had a rather overweight young woman, quite symmetrical, so nice facial features and so forth, with a very revealing swimsuit on the cover. And I thought, no, like not in a personal way, but it's unbelievably manipulative for about 3 different reasons.
Stopping it there before you get to the 3 reasons why it's very manipulative. I made a video about this, and this is why I'm doing this video, as a follow-up to Dr. Peterson responding to all the backlash to his tweet, or his retweet of that Sports Illustrated cover. And I said in the video that I didn't think that he meant personally, that he personally thinks she's unattractive. He acknowledged she's overweight, and she is overweight. And he also acknowledged she's symmetrical, so her weight doesn't look as bad as somebody who would be 5'2". And this is one of the things I have said in my video that I think is manipulative. They push this sort of fat acceptance, health at every size, but they put someone who's tall and symmetrical to represent that. But that person isn't the norm. Most women aren't that height, so that weight she's carrying would carry on them differently. Even though it's unhealthy on her, but because she's carrying her weight, her fat distribution is different than someone who is 5'4" or 5'2", that same amount of weight on her will be a lot unhealthy for them, and it would make their life and their moving through life more difficult, with your thighs rubbing together. Very uncomfortable, bleeding, blisters, skin rubbing off. It's not comfortable. And a lot of women, when they're shorter and they have that much weight in them, they carry it in the most dangerous areas, which is your midsection and your hip and butt area and your thigh area. Those are pretty dangerous areas to carry fat. And so it is manipulative. Say like, look, see, fat is beautiful, but she doesn't represent all overweight women. At the end of the day, she's still a model. So she's still the exception, right? He acknowledged that she had a beautiful face, which I also acknowledged in my video. Beautiful face, beautiful hair. I don't think the swimsuit was that revealing, because it was technically not even a bikini. I think there's been models with much more revealing swimsuits or no swimsuits on Sports Illustrated covers in the past. And yeah, everyone coming at you and yelling at you. I couldn't imagine, especially with the platform that Jordan Peterson has. That's just the nature of Twitter. I don't really see how you can change that, but like do what he's doing and just stay off of it. It's probably better for your mental health. But anyway, let's continue. Reasons.
The first is it's a very tawdry attempt to capitalize on cheap sales. And I mean cheap in a specific way. Sports Illustrated hit the gold mine with their swimsuit cover, I suppose 20 years ago, whenever they established that. Because it was obviously it's a sports magazine, so it's about athletics. It's about athletic people. It's about athletic bodies. And they had a swimsuit issue, and it really was a big hit. And then it became kind of a cultural icon. And it's a very specific kind of cultural icon because it focuses on a very exceptional kind of high-end beauty. Mm-hmm. And so that beauty would involve symmetry and signals of youth, because that's part of beauty, sexual beauty, physical beauty, waist to hip ratio for women. But with Sports Illustrated, it's also highlighting a kind of athleticism in body type. And that's a very specific form of beauty. You have to be young. You have to be female, generally. You have to be extremely athletic. You have to be shapely in a very particular way, and that would be with a waist-to-hip ratio of 0.68, because that's what's been established cross-culturally as ideal from the perspective of male sexual interest, let's say, but that's also associated with fertility.
Yeah.
And so it's a marker that has a biological basis. And so even if you're a very beautiful woman, you're hard-pressed to be beautiful enough to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated for the swimsuit issue. And so it's a pinnacle achievement of sorts, and it's focused on a very idealized and specific form of beauty. And that's obviously exclusionary. It's obviously exclusionary. It excludes everyone. Mm-hmm. Right. And it does that to highlight a kind of ideal, and that's a particular ideal of beauty. And there are some cultural boundaries around that. So you could say, well, it's a westernized form of beauty. It's like, yeah. And you can point to Rubens' paintings of more plump women and say, well, there's an exception. It's like, great. You think you're a genius for finding that exception. Good for you. You know the Rubens painting. Like, more power to you. But that doesn't mean anything at all about the universality of images of beauty. And so the cover bothered me a lot because it was a cheap manipulation of something that had been working very well for Sports Illustrated. It was
stopping it there before I get to the second point. Yeah, a lot of the sort of body positive movement or fat acceptance movements always like to use stuff like that. Like if you look at the Roman or the Renaissance era paintings, the women were more plump. Or they'll even use Marilyn Monroe as an example. Marilyn Monroe is smaller than most women are today. Kim Kardashian had to starve herself to fit into Marilyn Monroe's dress. Just because she had tits and ass does not mean Marilyn Monroe was thick. She was small. And it's well known that Marilyn Monroe was on a constant diet. Marilyn Monroe was not fat positive, not even the slightest. She was not, look at my curves, hear me roar. She definitely took advantage of the fact that she had some good knockers up at the top. But she was constantly on a diet because she wanted to be smaller. So I don't know why they keep using Marilyn Monroe, because she would not be a part of your tribe. She would excommunicate herself from your fat acceptance group, like in a blink of an eye, unless she became like a radical feminist, and who knows. And I said this before, like, I don't think models on covers of magazines, or models in magazines, periods, on billboards, or starlets or movie stars need to represent us. I don't think they need to represent the greater public. There's always the argument with the fat positivity movement is that the entertainment doesn't represent them as a whole, as the mainstream public. But it doesn't have to, because a part of entertainment is escapism and fantasy. So no, nobody wants to play a video game where the vixen is 300 pounds. They want a fantasy. They want her to have a tiny waist, big ass titties, big ass, and running around in underwear and nipple covers to fight her enemies, because it's fantasy, it's escapism. Models are escapism. The fashion industry is escapism. When you see a billboard, that is escapism. That's a form of escapism and entertainment. So it's not supposed to represent us. Like he said, it's inherently exclusive. It's not for everyone. There's a tiny amount of people that's going to fit the mold, and even the models themselves don't fit the mold. That's why you have Photoshop. Most of the models don't even look as good as they do when they're on the cover or when they're on the billboard. However, it doesn't mean they don't work hard and do a lot of sacrificing so they can look like that. Let's take the Kardashians. Yes, the Kardashians had a lot of plastic surgery, but let's not pretend they also didn't do a lot of work to look like the way they look today. And if that's not worth your time, if you don't want to spend hours and days and weeks and years out of your life trying to achieve a certain body type, then don't knock down the ones who do. He was saying that being on the cover of Sports Illustrated was sort of a mark of achievement because those people sacrificed and worked hard to have the bodies that they have. So no, it's not supposed to be inclusive, because you didn't work hard to have that body. When he's saying athletic bodies, I don't think he necessarily means muscular. One of the things that Sports Illustrated models are known for is having more of a thicker body than an average, like, waif-thin runway model. Tyra Banks is a good example. At some point, Tyra Banks could no longer just be a typical runway model because she started to grow breasts and curves, but she still had a very symmetrical, fit body. So it's more fit, it's more, like you said, athletic, but not muscular. And from what I have heard, Sports Illustrated was created because when it was the down season for actual sports, so when there was no football games going on, or baseball, or basketball, or hockey, or soccer, or whatever other sports they put in their magazines, they used Sports Illustrated as a filler, and then it just took off. I think I've been talking long enough. Let's continue.
Working very well for Sports Illustrated. It was also an insistence that all of a sudden this non-athletic body type is as beautiful as the standard swimsuit model for Sports Illustrated. And it's not. It's not as athletic, and it's not as healthy. And that's that. And it's also not arbitrary. And so the whole thing is a lie. And then it's a lie that's a manipulation of that young woman. Now, she partakes in that because she participates in it. But it's still, they're not on her side. They're exploiting her, as far as I'm concerned. And she may be participating in that exploitation, but they're still exploiting her. So don't pull any moral stunts on me because you're irritated about my opinion about the Sports Illustrated cover when it's bloody clear to anybody with eyes that that was manipulative in 20 different ways. And I'm also not willing to sacrifice these ideals for inclusiveness. It's like, no, not everyone's a genius. No, not everyone's Picasso. No, not everyone's young and healthy. And no, not everyone is a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model, period. And fuck you if you don't like it. So that's basically what I thought about that. I certainly didn't think it would cause as much trouble as it did. You know, when people were on my case for being mean, it's like, yeah, I know, I'm always mean because, you know, that's...
Dr. Jordan Peterson has been well known to fight against the equity idea, and I think equity idea is everyone should have equal outcome. And so I think that's also the belief with a lot of people who are part of the fake woke communities think everyone should be involved, everyone should be considered beautiful, everyone should be considered special and loved and liked and all these things, right? And so when it comes to the modeling world, it's like everyone should have a chance. No, everyone shouldn't have a chance because everyone's not beautiful. Like, you can personally feel like you're beautiful, and people around you who find you attractive can personally feel like you're beautiful. But when it comes to beauty standards, not everyone fits that. That's why it's called a standard. And like you said, it's always going to be someone bigger and better and stronger and smarter and achieves more than you and more athletic than you, more scientific than you, more intellectual than you. Those people shouldn't be knocked down or held back because it makes you feel bad. And those people should be able to reap the rewards of being better. If that makes you feel a certain way, that is your problem. That is not everyone else's issue. You need to deal with that from yourself. If you have some lack of self-confidence or worth or self-love, seeing somebody on a billboard that's skinnier and taller and prettier than you makes you feel bad, that is your issue. You need to have more self-love and self-respect for yourself, that doesn't shadow your universe. When I was growing up, I grew up in a very pro-black family. I've said this before. And I was always told that being being a black girl, especially back then, it was just not a part of the beauty standards. And I would see white girls always on covers of magazines and billboards. That never made me feel any type of way. I didn't feel ugly as a black girl. I didn't feel like, oh, I wish I was white. I never went through that phase. I always loved being black. I always loved my skin color because my self-love and self-value and self-worth came from inside out. It didn't come from, I need people to validate me. I need people to tell me that I'm beautiful. I need to see me on a cover of a magazine. I need to see representation of me on a billboard for me to feel beautiful. I felt beautiful from myself. And I also just think, I am just generally pretty. The whole them taking advantage of her, not being on her side thing. I mean, I don't think any models are not being exploited. Most models are being exploited, so that's not a special case for her just because she's plus size. I can say that the industry or corporate is taking advantage of the whole fat positivity movement because it makes them more money. They don't actually care about your fat ass. But let's continue.
Well, also, life is hard and life is mean, right? And it's hard for people. First of all, I have great sympathy for anybody overweight because of the health struggles I went through. And you lost a whole bunch of weight. It's not like being overweight's fun, right?
No.
That's a whole other problem to get into with, I think people have such an issue losing weight that society has said, you know what,
No.
it's fine.
It's not
Because
fine.
you've had so much trouble
it's
that it's
terrible.
probably your genetics.
Yeah.
So
well,
you
and
might.
there's truth in that. Like when I look at someone who's obese on the street, I think, oh, that's too bad. Like that's too bad. I don't think, obese pig eats too much, has no self-control. I don't think that. I think bad mismatch between genetic proclivity and appalling diet. And the appalling diet is basically, we're not going to get into this, but basically carbohydrate heavy and sugar loaded. And fair enough, we tried hard, the whole world, to make calories cheap. And we did that.
And we did that.
So no one's starving and great. But now we have an obesity problem, and it's a major problem. And I'm not going to pretend that it's okay. It's not okay. That doesn't mean I don't have sympathy for it. And I'm not willing to sacrifice any ideals for this idiot inclusiveness. I'm done with that. And so should everyone else be. And I think most people are. And they look at that cover and they know it's manipulative and a lie in a deep sense.
All right, there you go, guys. That was Dr. Jordan Peterson being interviewed by his lovely daughter, Michaela Peterson. And yeah, he's right. Being overweight is not nice. It's not enjoyable. It's not easy. It doesn't make life more pleasant. And so you would think because, geez, the sun just disappeared. So you would think that you would want people to live their best life. And so to live the best life, you have to be as healthy as possible. And I'm not saying be a purist or be a health fanatic, because that can be unhealthy as well. But for some people, trying to constantly lose weight or think about the weight is also mentally unhealthy for them. So a lot of people just say, you know what, I'm going to let go of that mental anguish and I'm just going to accept my body for what it is. And that's fine, but let's not pretend you are healthy, and let's not force your beauty standards down everybody else's fucking throat. And I like that one phrase he said, idiot inclusivity. I like that. I'm gonna have to use it. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think in the comment section below. Do you think this was an appropriate response from Dr. Jordan Peterson? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell to get notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can donate. My PayPal and Cash App link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop, links down below, and links to all of my internal platforms. My socials and other ways to support me is always in the links down below, or if you like, you can super thanks. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle, or I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go to the description box below. Also in the comment section, hit the link, go subscribe to my travel vlog channel, and or follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date, and you guys have an amazing day. Bye!